Just back from Joshua Tree and Death Valley National Park workshops. Awesome trips. I'm going to share some tips and tricks for capturing clean Milky Way images with a star tracker, what accessories you want, what accessories you don't want, as well as some sample images from Nikon's awesome new 24-120 lens and how it renders sunstars. Hey everybody, welcome. Hudson here. I want to share some fun stuff that I learned on over the last couple weeks in Joshua Tree and Death Valley with two great workshop groups about both creating sunstars and Milky Way work. And I'll talk through some things for those of you who have the Move Shoot Move Star Tracker. I have some tips and accessory advice, some things to get, some things not to get that I'm going to share. I'm going to look through some images. For those of you who've been asking about the 24-120 and how it shoots into backlight and sunstars, I'll show you some images that will make you drool if you don't have it and really happy if you do. Before I do all that, I just want to put out the word April 12th. We're doing office hours, that big free get together on YouTube and YouTube Live and Zoom. You can sign up at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. Leave us some questions there. We'll do some open Q&A and we'll tell some fun adventure stories from this workshop. We had some amazing times out there. And I learned as much from this group as I was able to teach. It was some great light, great images, great camaraderie. Really, really fun time. So first thing I want to do is just dive in and talk about the Milky Way and sunstars through some of the images from the workshop. So let's just jump over and have a look at that. All right, so epic workshops in Death Valley and Joshua Tree this last few weeks. Amazing group of people, learned a ton from everybody. Really fun taking the Z9 and some of the gear that I had at my disposal, and also shooting early season Milky Way with these guys. So I'm going to focus in on some of the stuff shooting sunstars with the 24-120, as well as some Milky Way stuff with the Move Shoot Move Star Tracker. And I'll just run through. I'll just say we had amazing group of people, wonderful weather, including this just epic sort of sandstorm. That we were crazy or brazen enough to kind of wade out into and be in the right spot in dawn light with no footprints for just some really unusual epic photography. I'll do a whole episode on that really soon. And also just because people have been talking about the 24-120 and sunstars, I really went to town kind of testing it. This is probably pushing its limits, a little too much light coming in. You've got some ghosts, but a really beautifully shaped star. I remember taking this image down in Badwater and thinking, this could be interesting. But our main purpose for going down there was to create a blue hour foreground for the Milky Way that we were going to shoot on star trackers the next night. And if people haven't looked through my Milky Way course, and I'd invite you to check out some of the free previews and look at the trailer for it at hudsonhenry.com/Milky Way. But that's my preferred method. Either do star stacking and capture a nice sharp Milky Way, and then a foreground in blue hour light where you can blend the two together with really high quality foreground, really high quality Milky Way. Or run it on a tracker, which is really my preferred method. I love the Move Shoot Move Star Tracker. We got out there after the sun set, found some interesting compositions as a crew. We had actually a beautiful gradient with some neat clouds. And then as the light came down, we shot our blue hour foreground, in many cases focus stacked. You'll notice that anything that's coded red here is a focus stack. I've been doing a lot of focus stacking, particularly with as simple as it is to do with the new Nikon mirrorless cameras automatically. I'll do a couple of lessons about focus stacking. I've also been capturing manual focus stacks, and that makes me worry less about not being able to preview foreground to background zoomed in beyond f5.6. For those who've been tracking my complaints about that, focus stacking does alleviate that to a fair degree. So we shot our blue hour foreground, getting ready to shoot Milky Way the next night to blend into this scene. And then the next day, we had pretty clear skies, bounced around canyons, got to bed early enough that we could do the 2 a.m. start and get out kind of mid-valley. This is a little north of Furnace Creek. You can see Furnace Creek here. We found a nice unobstructed spot where no cars would mess with us. And this is my 20 millimeter 1.8. That's my favorite Milky Way lens for wide angle on the Star Tracker. This is on the Move Shoot Move Star Tracker. You can see it just renders beautiful pinpoint stars. This is 90 seconds at f1.8. The Z9's primo Milky Way ISO is 400. That's where it kicks into its secondary channel where it does more noise suppression than dynamic range expansion. We talk a lot about that in the Milky Way video course that I just referenced. I'll go through showing you how to figure out what the best settings for your camera are. But for the Z9, 400 ISO, and with 1.8, 90 seconds works out really well. You can see the foreground's all blurred because it's on the tracker. And we have Venus rising, a little kind of aberration there with such a bright thing as a planet, but it's still kind of neat. I love the Venus being down there on the horizon. And that makes a nice thing to focus on. And I found the Z9 was just kind of unbelievable focusing in low light, particularly in its starlight mode, and seeing the foreground. It's insane. You can actually see the silhouette of the foreground and get your composition in starlight mode on the Z9. It's a whole nother level. I would say that everybody out there shooting with older Nikons or the new other brands were just like, whoa, you gotta be kidding me, it does that. And then I threw my case neutral night filter on. And you can find out more about my case filters at hudsonhenry.com/case, but I really love their neutral night filter. Look at that, there's really no change at all except slapping a neutral night filter on. It just adds contrast, it adds a little pop to the Milky Way's definition from space without losing any sharpness whatsoever, clearly. And cuts through a lot of the human light pollution. Adds just a little bit. I find that about 3850 Kelvin with the neutral night filter gives you a nice color, just the right color that I like for my Milky Way renderings. And then taking this Milky Way and blending it into that foreground scene that we shot the night before worked out really, really well. You know, I just love having a low ISO, clear, sharp foreground with, you know, then the Milky Way blended in up above. It's so fun to do that stuff. And as kind of an added treat, our good friend Ken Muller, who's a frequent workshop co-conspirator, he was in both of these workshops. He brought his 58.95 Noct. This is a legendary new kind of pride point lens. I hadn't actually seen one before, but I was able to actually mount it up and play around with it while we were shooting the Milky Way. And then this is just it at 3 minutes, 0.95, 400 ISO on the Z9 pointed at the hills. And I was just blown away. You know, I looked at this image and I was like, you got to be kidding me. There's no light whatsoever. This is Milky Way light. And then, you know, I braved putting it on the tracker. He and I were standing right beside it, and it was dicey putting, you know, almost 10 pounds between the Z9 and the 58 Noct, which weighs even more than the Z9 all by itself, on the tracker. But we did get a nice sharp shot of these stars, and there's a little bit of coma at f.95 with the brightest stars, but it's ridiculously fun. And then blending those two together gave me some ideas. You know, I knew there was a more normal lens shot of this beautiful rock with a juniper tree and Joshua tree the next week, so I said, Ken, bring that lens back, and so I'll talk about that when we get there. And then the next evening we were out at this really beautiful place that we found where there had been some water that had washed the salt clean further north up the valley. And, you know, up the valley from Badwater, but nice clean salt formations with those hexes forming, kind of baby hexes. And that worked out really beautifully. Again, testing the 24-120 Sunstar. F16 seems to throw just a really beautiful Sunstar. This is focus stacked. You can tell because it's red. And then I focus stacked a foreground, thinking about that same Milky Way shot that we shot the night before, pointed the same direction, south, down valley toward Badwater, same way that the Milky Way was rising that night, and then tossed those two together with Venus tossed in. Kind of fun stuff. It's just, I just love, you know, the nice, sharp, right up close, insane salt formation blended into that nice sharp star formation from the 21.8. So at this one I actually shot with the 14-24 at 14 millimeters to just get the wide angle view of that salt pan, and then blended a 20 millimeter Milky Way into it. And focus stacking, I mean, that's just something I've been doing a ton of. Here's a scene with the 100-400, the new 100-400 S, focus stacked at 400 millimeters out in the dunes on this beautiful morning. And there's just no way you get everything front to back sharp at 400 millimeters that close without doing some focus stacking. I just let the internal focus shift shooting run it with 7 as a step width, and it did a fantastic job. Anyhow, so we had a great time in Death Valley, great time shooting Milky Way, and then we moved into Joshua Tree, where I continued doing focus stacking, continued kind of testing out Sunstars. You know, I've also found that if you make the point small enough, I really like the 14 to 24's Sunstar as well. Here's f20 with the 14 to 24. And that 24 to 120, those are the two best S lenses that I've found yet for doing Sunstars. We got everybody out, same deal that we'd done in Death Valley, and we set up to do the Milky Way, got a whole, I think we had 6 move, shoot, move trackers, 5 or 6 of them. Rotated people that didn't have trackers in, some people were doing stacking, made sure everybody got a nice sharp Milky Way shot, learned how to use the trackers, and then I set up my big iOptron Sky Guider because I had time, and I got Ken rigged up with his 58.95 on a star tracker that's really made to carry heavier optics and cameras. So he and I traded off a little shooting the Z9 and the .95 58 Noct right at the Milky Way, which was a blast. I mean, just insane imaging. And then the next night, well, actually 2 nights later, the final night of the workshop, we went to shoot our foreground image. Again, another nice Sunstar out of the 24 to 120. And then dawn the next day, we went out in the blue hour, pre-dawn, early morning again. We did a lot of early mornings on this workshop. And I did a focus stack shot of this really beautiful granite rock with this juniper tree that Rick and I had scouted. I focus stacked it. I think I edited this one as a foreground, but this might be my blended focus stack image with just a little bit of the light pulled up. And then we blended it. This is a 45 millimeter shot using the 24 to 120, 13 seconds, f5.6. It's pre-dawn, there's still stars out, but there's just enough light in the horizon to throw a little soft light onto the foreground and be able to shoot this at ISO 400, you know, nice and clean and sharp. Focus stacked again. At 45 millimeters on the 24 to 120. So that's almost made to throw that Milky Way behind with the 58. And if you have a look, the Milky Way is right behind this. When we first got there, I have a stacked star image of this rock and tree with the Milky Way right behind it. I haven't taken the time to assemble it yet since I have such a good tracker shot. But you can see there's a hint of the Milky Way as it rotated up past it as dawn came out. So blending those two together, it just came out crazy. You know, I'm gonna go through and do a little more edge masking and work. This is just kind of slapped together, but the ability to render this kind of, you know, crazy foreground Milky Way at low ISO and have an image like this, I can't wait to print this one. So fun stuff, and I really want to thank Ken for letting me work with that .95 Noct. That was a blast. I don't see myself running out and replacing my 51.8 that weighs, you know, 1/10 as much and costs about 1/10 as much, but it really was a blast to play with. I enjoyed it. And then as dawn came up and we were shooting first light on the rock, you know, that I just have to say, I think it's really obvious from working with this 24 to 120, it handles backlight beautifully. It's a wonderful lens to have in the landscape from all the way from 24 to 120, and it shoots into backlight and does beautiful Sunstars. A great trip, a great bunch of people, fun with new toys, new lessons learned. So let me talk about a couple of quick things about the Move Shoot Move. I see some misconceptions about how it's set up, and I have an accessory that those of you that have it have got to add to your kit. It's cheap and it'll really be a great thing for you. Okay, so you know, I think you got the idea that the 24 to 120 is pretty epic, just in general, let alone shooting into backlight and creating Sunstars. It's a really, really nice lens. No more need to really chat about that, except that, you know, it's something you should be playing around with if you have it, and it's a lens to consider if you don't yet have it. So I want to jump in and talk a little bit more about shooting Milky Way with the Move Shoot Move. And I'm going to slap the 20 millimeter 1.8, kind of my favorite wide-angle Milky Way lens for using a star tracker, onto my Z9. And a lot of people asked, could the Move Shoot Move handle the Z9's weight? And I found absolutely it could, although maybe not with the .95 Noct 58 millimeter lens, which weighs, you know, makes doubles the weight of this camera. But with the 20 millimeter 1.8 and with the 14 to 24, I had no issues with it if you set it up correctly. So I want to talk really quickly, you know, again, if any of this stuff is foreign, take a look through at least the free download videos from my Milky Way video course. It's hudsonhenry.com/Milky Way. You can learn more about that, and you'll see what I'm talking about star trackers. I love using a star tracker and making sure I got my Milky Way nice and sharp while I'm out shooting it. And I'm a big fan of the Move Shoot Move star tracker. I talk a little bit in this video about the iOptron, and I'll probably do some more training materials this Milky Way season on using bigger, heavier rigs with the iOptron and some tricks I learned on this workshop for getting an easier polar alignment with it. But this is the Move Shoot Move. And honestly, bringing along a secondary head like my Acrotech GXP and the Move Shoot Move adds only 2 pounds in your bag and just this much size. And I would suggest, I see a lot of people turning up and they've bought every accessory that Move Shoot Move makes. And I will say that the only accessories that I really like is just the basic kit with the laser. The laser is the key to this whole setup. All you really need from Move Shoot Move is the kit with the laser. Now, it used to be that they sent the laser with rechargeable batteries and a battery charger. Now they send it with a rechargeable battery but no charger. I think the charger that they were sending out, people complained wasn't the greatest, and I might agree with that. It's just a little thing that mounts on the side. I'm actually going to show you how the whole kit goes together here in a second. But if you have the Move Shoot Move or you're buying one, I'm going to put a link to this killer little thing I found on Amazon and was able to use on this trip. It's got a USB-C port. It's a charger and a case that comes with 2 of these batteries. It's actually the same batteries used with some dog electric shock collars for training dogs. And so they sell these on Amazon. This is a charger. It charges both batteries at the same time. It goes red while it's charging, gives you a green light when it's charged. They snap in there. You can carry the batteries in there in your Move Shoot Move case. So that'll give you a second and third spare battery and a charger. It's under 20 bucks. You plug it into USB-C, it charges your batteries and provides a case for them. So if you don't have this, you should have it. It's a quick Amazon buy. It's in this video's full description and on my website along with all the gear that I use, hudsonhenry.com/ATS links. I have tried a number of different things out. This is the one that works the best. So this is the charger for the laser. The Move Shoot Move charges just by plugging it into USB-C. It's got a built-in battery. And all you really need to do, I prefer to use a pan and tilt or a fluid head. I think everybody knows that already, but I like to use it with the star tracker as well. And you just basically, I've got a Kirk Enterprise Solutions foot. That's listed with the star tracker. I'm going to put the star tracker kit and this battery, charger, and set all in this video's full description. If you click on the title or show more, depending on your platform, you can find those links. But you just put that Kirk Arca foot that fits it so well right into the star tracker. You're going to get it angled a certain amount. You take your second head, a ball head. You really need it to be a ball head. I know I'm saying that, but this is where I use a ball head when I can't put it in a position where it's going to be level from beneath. And I love the Acrotech GXP. I love Acrotech in general. Their ultimate head would work great for this too. It's a little cheaper. But if you want a really nice ball heading, you can afford it. The GXP, I don't think there's a finer ball head on the planet. It's 1 pound, holds 25 pound, completely maintenance free. Just kind of an amazing head. You're going to mount that guy and turn it so that its notch is straight up so that you have that ability to go up into the notch if you wanted to lean forward. And then you're going to mount your laser pointed back to the north. Down here in the bottom corner, there's a little nylon set screw. And you make sure you got your charged battery in it. And that's going to be like a full-on laser beam into space. You will be able to see the whole beam of it going up. And all you have to do is tilt to get the same elevation as the North Star, pan to get it right over the North Star, lock it in, and then you don't move your head at all. You're level from below, you're locked on the North Star. Then when this rotates, it's just going to be rotating along at the same speed as the Earth and keeping the stars nice and sharp no matter where your ball head's oriented. All you have to do is set the base tension and the position with your ball head. And at that point, I would mount my neutral night filter. I showed you in that video what an amazing difference that makes. And I'm just putting my magnetic 77 to 112 adapter on there so I can put the filters in that, that share with my 14 to 24 2.8 and drop that 112 millimeter neutral night filter that also works with my 14 to 24. and you're just gonna work on your composition, you know, I talk about how to take really quick, timely shots, not the greatest quality, just to get your composition and focus dialed in my Milky Way video course. But that's really all you need for this system, right there. This laser and the move, shoot, move, and a ball head. You know, I would really suggest you not get the polar alignment set up. I think it's kind of hinky that you can buy as a kit with this. Also, avoid those Z plates or V plates like the plague. Yes, they get your ball head level, but they provide sort of a springboard, the end of a diving board like flex into the system that should be nice and rock solid. You know, you put some weight down here in your stone bag, down here that you should have under your tripod to just weight it down in windy conditions or whatever. You get level, you get this dialed in on the North Star, you lock down, you know, like I talk about in the Milky Way video course. And then anything you do up here, once you activate that tracker, it's going to be counteracting the movement of the stars due to the Earth's rotation. It's going to be rotating on that same axis that the Earth is revolving on and just completely take the motion out of the stars. That way you can do low ISO, long exposure without star trailing. It's a piece of cake. So again, you know, the accessory I would have you get absolutely is this nice cheap little case and 2 battery charger that comes with 2 extra batteries for your move, shoot, move. And the neutral night filter makes a huge difference. Otherwise, you just need the kit B. It's just the tracker with the laser, and that's it. All right, so thanks everybody for watching, sharing, subscribing, liking. I hope this Milky Way season treats everybody well. If you haven't checked out my Milky Way training course, I'd have you run over to hudsonhenry.com/Milky Way. You know, I've got more workshops coming. The Palouse is next month, then Costa Rica, then Portland. Those are all sold out. There's still a few slots left for Yellowstone and the Tetons, if anyone's interested. If you need a neutral night filter, check out my 82 and 112 millimeter kits at hudsonhenry.com/case. I sell the neutral night filters separately too. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Don't forget to sign up for office hours, April 12th, 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going to take your questions. Leave questions when you sign up at hudsonhenry.com/office hours. I hope everybody is getting out, photographing, getting excited for spring in the Northern Hemisphere, fall in the Southern Hemisphere. It's the best times of the year to photograph, in my opinion. Getting excited about Milky Way, getting more and more bright in the sky for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a great time to be out shooting. The tools that we have are so fun. I hope everyone's staying safe, staying creative. We'll see you next week.